Okay, hello everyone. We are here today at the house of Pat Fahrenfort. Thanks for having us, Pat, by the way. We want to ask her a few questions around her life and around her story because it's a very eventful story. So, first of all, maybe, Pat, do you want to introduce yourself quickly?
Okay, well, my surname, I was born Rousseau. When I got married and I discovered I didn't have the talent for marriage, I kept the surname because it sounded a bit more glamorous than my own one. So it's not so if anybody, because someone sent me an email one day wanting to know, doing a genealogy, and so I said, no, honey, I've just kept the surname. It's a bit more glamorous than my own one.
Okay, okay, but maybe can you tell us something about you?
Well, I was born in District 6. I come from a working class family. My mother worked in a factory. My dad worked for the city council where they fixed the lights on the streets at night. So he had mainly a night shift kind of job, and later on got a better position as a meter reader. And by the time there were rumors that District 6 was going to be declared white, my folks weren't going to wait for the bulldozers. And because he worked for the city council had come up with the very first coloured sort of township. But township is actually meant, it's not a bad word, but when people get sent on the outskirts, they say it's a township. So our area was where we had, so District 6 kind of went into the background because we moved into a freestanding house that had a toilet and a bathroom inside the house, and it had hot water. So that was a big plus. And only later on, because I was very young, I was 13. But moving to Athlone meant economic challenges, because the house was bigger, it needed new furniture, it needed new curtains, window sizes were different, doors were different. So it was quite hectic for my folks. And we were all at school. I have a brother who's 2 years older than I am, and then one sister who's 5 years younger, and then I have my cousin who my parents adopted, so she's my sister as well, and then a younger sister. And by the time I was barely 15, I came home from school. I went to school for 1 year in Athlone and didn't like it because I wasn't used to that kind of vibe, as I would want to a better word. So I went back to Zonnebloem, which is in District 6. And one day I came home from school. It was a Friday, and I removed my uniform, not knowing I wasn't ever going to wear that uniform again. My mother just said she found us jobs in a printing industry. My sister, who's my she's my sister, 2 months older than I am. So I had to go and work when I was barely 15. Initially, I liked it because I could feel like I'm an adult. I'm working, I'm earning wages, and I could wear high heels and makeup. But about a week, now the printing industry, it's the kind of it was a very conservative industry, and you didn't just find the job easily. Somebody had to bring you, introduce you into. So my dad's uncle worked there, and he found the job. So there was lots of overtime. They printed mainly. It was the Cape Times, called the Cape and Transvaal printers out in the northern suburbs. They printed calendars and Christmas cards. So by June, they'd take on a lot of people because for the Christmas cards and the telephone books, telephone directories. But after a week, I decided, I don't like this, I want to go back to school. And my mother would we would hand over, you get your little brown envelope with your money, your wages in it. And as I'd handed the money to my mother, and I passed the one room, and she was sitting on the bed counting the money. And I was going to tell her I want to go back to school on Monday. But the look on her face when she was counting the money, I didn't have the heart to say, So I left it, stayed at the printing industry, got married, and then afterwards I decided, no, this I need to actually, when I realized I was going to go solo, I was going to be a single mother, I needed to improve my situation.
What time was that?
That was in 68, 67, sort of.
So that was it before, within the apartheid time?
Oh yes, very much so.
Full on in the apartheid time?
Completely. So jobs, I'll show you. I took out the jobs out of the classified section, where you would apply for fair skin colored, light skin colored, colored of sober habits, those sort of.
Oh, that was a term.
Those were the terms, yeah.
Wow.
So I have completed all that. I qualified as a fair skin colored, light skin colored. But when I left my marriage, I had no skills and no money and no education. So when I was about 38, I went and did my matric. And at 40, I went, because I worked at the university, I could study, so I did a social science degree. So of course life kind of improved, and I changed jobs all the time. And in fact, the job at UCT, I've always wanted a job at UCT because I thought I'd like the environment and I can also study. But no chance. Every time it appears in the paper, I'd phone up. It's for whites only. I think, okay, so whites only. Then one day I decided I'm going to go via a placement agent. And I was on fairly good terms with the consultant. She was British. And we were on first name terms. So one day I walked in and she said to me, I found just the job for you. So I said, do tell, you know. Yes, there's a professor at the University of Cape Town. I said, stop. Did I not tell you I wasn't white? So she said, no, it's fine. The professor said he wants a nice colored girl. By which time the colored girl was hitting 40. You know, you can't win. So of course I go for the job and I stayed there for a while. Then things didn't go so well in the department because the professor kept on fighting with the other lecturers. And I had to be moved because he used to destroy documents. And I decided I'm keeping my own filing system because this is going to come back to me. Didn't you have such a letter? So one day when they were arguing, I did my J. Edgar Hoover bit. And he said, no, there's no such letter. We don't have it. So I took mine and I said, is this what you're looking for? So of course, my job's on the line. So, but anyway, I found a job. The one lecturer found a job in the library, so I could just continue. So I stayed there. So yeah, and I finished my degree, and I didn't do a degree so that I could get a career. I just liked being in the environment, and it helped me. It provided me with analytical tools. I've enjoyed the studies. Sometimes I didn't, but you know, it was actually quite hectic after you left school almost 30 years ago to go back and open books, not easy. So it was being a part-time student, a single parent, holding down 3 jobs and a political activist is quite hectic. You have to put all that together.
So you say you were a political activist. When about and how did you actually become a political activist?
My politicization came quite late because I didn't grow up. I mean, there were in District 6, for example, there was no real sort of activity, but there was the unity movement, which was basically made up of intellectuals, teachers, nurses, doctors, you know. So it's only I started reading and also the whole idea of this slightly colored fitting into a box, and there were organizations, and I belonged to various organizations, and that's how I became more politicized, and I didn't belong to any political party. but I did what I could where we knew we had to do things. I assisted. I didn't have, for some people, it was like cool going to jail. I didn't want that. So I basically ran a safe house. So people would have meetings at my house. My car would disappear because they didn't bring it back, or the fridge would be raided. But that was
District 6.
No. This was here in Woodstock.
In Woodstock, okay.
But that's what you did. That you accommodated people if they didn't have anywhere, or they were on the run from the cops. So my house was kind of safe. My house was never raided for a meeting because nobody actually knew. And one day, my next door neighbor said to me, "Oh, you didn't say anything." And I thought, "Say what?" She commented about a lot of people coming in. I thought, if I did tell you, you probably would have told the cops, and my house would have been raided, or we would have gone to prison. So I'm still very concerned about social issues. I don't think that will ever leave me. I worked on the ANC elections in 1994. Came the elections, what did we do? Voted for ANC because there wasn't. And I still today, I'm angry. I think I'm angrier today than I was then. But there's no other party that I actually would want to vote for. So where does that leave me?
I mean, you've kind of talked a lot about now your history, right? Especially now going into the future, because you say you're angrier than ever before. Maybe a nice question that I think would really fit in here is, do you regret anything?
I don't regret anything, because it had to be done. What we did, we had to do that, right?
To free the people.
Yeah. So I don't have any regrets. I did give up. I was offered a scholarship to the Alvin Ailey Dance School in Harlem in the States, and I couldn't take that because there was a cultural boycott, and it was politically incorrect to take it, so that couldn't happen. And that would have been at no cost to me. They would have, the people from that organization would have gotten me over there. So no, I'm not. I don't have regrets. If it's regrets of thinking in a way that how things are happening now, that the corruption is so bad, that makes me angry. You do then think, what were we fighting for? Not for people to put their hands in the cookie jar. That's not what it was meant to be. But unfortunately, that is happening now.
Yeah.
So I still have a conscience. I feel very bad about people who are suffering. I mean, how many years later, on every corner there's a beggar.
Yeah.
Every corner, there are always people looking for food. Why should we be at this late stage, so late into our democracy, still that should still be happening? That people don't have running water, electricity, decent toilets, schools, all those things are in a bad situation. So that really gets my back up.
Okay. So that leads me to a question, also particularly talking about Cape Town now. What comes to your mind when you think of Cape Town, and maybe then the greater South Africa, especially with what you just said?
Well, Cape Town has got to be my three favorite cities in the world is New York, London and Cape Town, but Cape Town first, obviously. It is the most beautiful city. And I can understand people wanting, where do you find, you live in the UK or the US, for example, that in winter you can see a blue sky. You can get your vitamin D during winter.
Especially now with COVID.
Yeah, you have beautiful sceneries. It really is a beautiful place. And we shouldn't just take it for granted, but we do. Like somebody will visit me and say, "Oh, look at this beautiful mountain." I said, "Yeah," because we see it all the time. The beaches are there. Yeah, so we do take things for granted.
Yeah.
But Cape Town for me is it it's a really stunning city.
Yeah.
There's so much to offer.
Oh, beautiful. Maybe also getting a bit more into like the your life story again. You've kind of touched that already, but what do you think are the most significant moments in your life?
Oh, there are so many. For example, the fact that I could finish my studying, that for me was actually, because I didn't think I'd ever do it. There are many things, and also that you can now go anywhere, go to any restaurant, except race, class replace, it was a case of class and race, right? Now you've moved into a different class, but there are still some people, even though we are free, we have the vote, but we don't have the money to go any place that we want to. And also, voting was also a spectacular moment for me. But on the other hand, the vote doesn't free me. As a woman, I'm not free, right? So there's all that to consider. So there
are quite a few moments that you would think, okay.
Owning my own house, I didn't think that. I thought people would. You'd have to have a lot of money to buy a house, right? Except then came along, like for example, which was called a mixed area. It was dominated by the Portuguese, and I had to get a permit.
This area of Woodstock was Portuguese dominated.
Well, this particular area here was dominated, and you can see there's still traces of their background, because the Portuguese would have not a garden, it would be concrete, but there would be a diamond shape where there's no concrete, and there'd be a rose bush that's sprouting out of that. So there are in the areas, you'll notice that also the Portuguese, they would have that board plaque on their stoep de Fatima, right?
Yeah.
Or even woven into their wrought iron gates, Sonora, whatever the Portuguese language. So I had to get a permit, and I said, well, how do I obtain this permit? And the only way to get the permit is you take a piece of paper, you go to the neighbors, the white neighbors, and ask them, do you mind if I live next door to you? So I won't tell you what came out of my mouth, but I said, have you seen what these white people look like? I'm going to be the only good-looking person in this road. And anyway, I kind of jumped over a couple of hoops there, but then the estate agent sorted out the permit.
Okay.
Which is why,
because you had to get a permit to acquire a house as a colored person.
That's right.
Okay. So how would you obtain it? Would you send an application, or was it an interview?
As you see the photo there, I've framed it. You have to apply, and then it goes to, I think it was community development at the time, and they would kind of look at it and say, it's okay, you're not okay.
Okay, so it would be kind of like in their hands now if you're a good person or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've recently, part of my short story collection is that I've written about my neighbors. And there was one neighbor, I don't know whether she had a Portuguese background, but she had said to me, she just stopped and chatted to me and didn't know my name, didn't know that I wasn't white. And she said, oh, things never used to be like this. And my ears pricked because, so I pretended I didn't know. What do you mean? I said to her. You know what I mean. So I said, no, actually I don't. So eventually her explanation was, there used to be nice people here. So I thought, okay, so the nice people must have been the white people. And then one day, I think it was my daughter that came in. She said, I saw a nice colored girl there by you the other day. And I said, yeah, it's my daughter. So she was, and then I think she realized this auntie's not white. Yeah, so I mean, all those kinds of things. And as you can see there, I mean, I'm actually quite patriotic. I had that flag made
Oh, yeah.
specially for
the window then.
Yeah.
So you're a proud South African, so to say.
I am. I mean, I don't think I'd want to live anywhere. I haven't traveled extensively, but I used to go to the UK quite often because my daughter's been working there for 13 years. So I used to go every festive season. I've been to the States on a scholarship. I've travelled to other places, but not, as I say, I can't really say I'm an extensive traveller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I have now a few general questions that I would like to ask you. What are your favorite things in life, Pat?
Favorite things in life? There are so many also. You know, I kind of mix. Sometimes I have two personas. When I'm working, I'm actually quite serious. I take my job quite seriously and I deliver. So you'll see me different to what you see me outside. But I'm quite gregarious. I like socializing. I love people. I love parties. So all that was part of my life. I did trained as a dancer, but I still tap dance because I quite like the energy about that. So yeah, and music. Yeah, I would have wanted to, pursue the arts area, but you know, arts, I think globally, they're always shortchanged, and it's not a real job. So that's what my mother told me, find a real job. So the arts, you can't kind of go in that. So I know the music scene, and I've done it. I've worked as a reporter, and I'd written articles. I used to review music. So yeah.
Beautiful. May I ask you, what can you live without?
Live without the crap that's going on now in the country. That's what I can live without.
Yeah.
And the poverty that surrounds us, abject poverty. It breaks my heart, actually. I can't deal with it. Everybody's wanting a 5 rand or something, and you know, sometimes you want to swear at these people, but they also need to survive. But because I also know that in some cases people use the money for drugs, so I'd sooner give a plate of food. But that I can actually live without is what is happening today. I would love to live with it. And I would like to be safe, to be able to go anywhere. I'd been hijacked at gunpoint in front of my house. Right? A new car I had for 2 months, gone. I live with that. So it's a long time ago. I don't make a prisoner of myself, but I'm vigilant. I don't drive around at night, late. I have an alarm. I would love to live without my alarm system.
I think a lot of South Africans would share that sentiment of like electronic fences and,
absolutely.
and gates that mustn't be open.
Yeah, I never used to have gates. I just had the ordinary wall, and my gates now, I have to do that. But the criminals have become so creative that they'll get you in your house and kill you and think nothing of it.
Yeah.
So I would love to live without the fear.
Yeah, without the fear.
And just as a woman, here we're having this 16 days of no violence against women and children. But this is the period when a lot of women actually lose their lives.
Yeah.
So I would like that, yeah.
Yeah, also the gender-based violence that we've been exposed to in this country for a very long time now.
Yeah.
Is something you can live without. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe also to get in, to give also the topic tourism a little bit space. What role do you think people like you play in tourism? Because after all this is a feature on tourism, so maybe you can.
Look, I think people would like to meet locals because they get taken to fancy places, and you need to know, and it's the little things. So I talk around my experience, which I'm not the only person, and by the way, I'm not I've been disadvantaged, but there are other people who are more disadvantaged. But nevertheless, I was disadvantaged. So I give them an insight into a working class person's life, what we used to eat, how we managed, what we used to do, not having gone to school or finishing once. So, and that is what they like. And I've said to the tour guide once, aren't you bored because you hear the same story? And he said to me, every time I tell the story, it sounds different. So I can capture people with those kinds of issues and give them an insight because mine is a lived experience. So
like an authentic experience.
Authentic, and I think that people need to know those little details, and you know, where did you get? I said I paid 75 rand for this outfit many years ago, and I just covered it. I haven't bothered. Now my cat has scratched it, it's almost finished. But all those little things,
the particulars and details about your life that are interesting to foreigners.
The things that I'm very observant. I listen and I look at body language. And there was, when I bought my first house, which is in Lower Woodstock, people actually who owned furniture, second-hand furniture stores, they came around, they wanted to buy these things because, right? In the meantime, I went and bargained with them so that I could get the stuff. So those little things that we treasured, for example, we didn't grow up with mugs and thick cups. We had those, is it aluminium or those tin mugs?
The tin mugs,
Yeah. But our parents had tea sets, genuine tea sets that have labels these days, right? It's how we grew up. My mother, when she wanted to have a set of cut glass, she would go and buy one at a time until the set was full.
Oh, wow.
So it's those kinds of things and those details that a lot of people overlook. It's what I offer people.
What you
and they've enjoyed that kind of story.
Lovely. So when tourists come to your house, I mean, I would assume that you welcome them here in your house because it's most convenient for you.
They come to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. They come to you. So what do you usually do with them? Maybe you can give us a little wrap up of what is your usual modus operandi?
I will start with a snack. I call it a Cape snack because that is what I say to them. That is what we used to eat, right? And then I go around and I explain everything to them, my living conditions. I show them and I talk around the permits. I don't have these photographs to show off, but just to let them, so it gives me an extra bit to tell them.
Yeah.
Because they will look at the picture and say, oh, this is the president that you photographed. I said, yes. Because he was my boss at one stage. We worked for the Constitution Assembly.
You actually worked for Nelson Mandela in that sense?
No. It was the first non-racial administration that was set up, the Constitutional Assembly, right? So a whole lot of us got working together, and most of us had never met each other before. So I can talk around those sort of things. So I pick up on things in the house and how I managed, right? And most of them, they will send me emails and say how grateful they were for sharing
having the experience.
My story with them. Yeah, so that's what I do.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Pat, for this. I think we'll leave it at that for now.